James Fortner, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I do really appreciate you coming out. This is a Wednesday morning? Wednesday morning. I've been busting out some podcasts this week. So James Fortner, I know you. You go by James, right?
Yep, I go by James.
So I know you from the ConocoPhillips gas station in Gerald, Missouri.
Yep.
That's kind of how I know who you are. I had Jason Crow on my podcast, and you guys must be pretty good friends.
Yeah, Jason's a great guy.
And he's like, you need to get a hold of James and have him out. And
that's flattering.
So I was like, all right. So it took us a bit to make it happen.
Yeah, you were very persistent, thankfully.
Yeah.
I forgot that I had this today, as I said this morning, but I get so busy that I just kind of forget to follow up on the little things, and it's really a prioritization of time. But I wanted to do this, and then I was like, always forgetting. And I think one time I reached out to you maybe and said, hey, I still want to do this. I'm just really busy right now. But
and that's why I stayed persistent with it.
Yeah.
Because there's two kinds of people that I reach out to. There's someone that I reach out to and say, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? And they instantly come up with an excuse, and they're like, yeah, I'd like to, but I'm just too busy right now. And basically, to me, that's just a no. Like, they're just like, I'm not comfortable with it or whatever. I'd rather someone tell me, like, that's not for me. I don't want to come on. But you show genuine interest in it, and you just express to me, hey, I got these things going on right now. They're more of a priority, but let's get back in touch, and we'll make it happen eventually. And it was never like, I never felt like I was getting just excuses from you.
Yeah, no. That's why this last one, I was like, I just need to schedule this, or I feel like it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen eventually. I can feel the energy whenever I message certain people, how certain people are different. Let's jump into some of your businesses.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just see. What do you got going on right now? What's in the portfolio?
I've got 4 stores right now. So I'm primarily in the liquor store and gas station business. I have 4 stores. The best one is in Jeff City. Gerald will be my second best. New Haven liquor store, the liquor cabinet. That's my baby. That's where I started. Then I've got a store, Northside Quick Stop in Union, Missouri. Right now, we're focused on Gerald. We're going to be doing a raise and rebuild coming up pretty quickly. We're about finished with design, about to go to architect. Tanks are ordered. Dispensers are ordered.
Dang.
Yeah. So that's going to be a big overhaul.
We're definitely going to talk about that on the podcast.
Yes, we'll definitely talk about that.
Cool. So those are your 4 you got. And you said the liquor cabinet in New Haven, Missouri was your first one.
That's my first. That's where I got my start.
How old were you when you started that one?
23.
23?
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
Oh, let's see. Well, when I was 18, I worked at a gas station. Actually, I probably started there when I was 16, and I left there when I was 18 or 19. Favorite job I ever had. It was just a lot of fun. I loved retail in that aspect. I was working 2 jobs. I was trying to learn sales and insurance. I was working full-time at a factory. And then I also got a part-time job actually at the El Ranchito there in New Haven. Mm-hmm. So I was going there, and I started going to a gym there in New Haven that just opened. And I'd say after going there about 3 months, the owner approached me. It was like 5:30 in the morning. And he's like, you're here every morning by yourself. You've got to have some ambition or some drive. Have you ever thought about starting a business? And I was like, very weird conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have no money. And he goes, okay, but what if I could help you find money? Like, he's like, I don't have money either, but what if I could help you find money? I was like, well, then I'd be interested. So that kind of kicked it off. That was like what piqued the interest. Meetings. And
this is at 18 years old?
No, this would probably be about 22.
Okay.
22 is when this happened, sorry. But the 18-year-olds was just, I loved that industry. So I knew it. I loved it. I grew up in it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I meet with this guy and his brothers, who are all kind of business people. And their idea is to put a Papa John's in New Haven. And they wanted me to run and operate it. And they would use assets for equity and things like that to try to get the franchise. Well, Papa John's would not come to New Haven because they have a very strict 5,000 rooftops in a 5-mile radius. So wouldn't even give us time of day. So from there, I was now in this business mode. Like, well, I want to start a business. You guys, got me all excited about this. Mm-hmm. So that's when I go, you know what? Oh, actually, I think T's Liquor Lane was in talks with them about going in the strip mall and putting a liquor store there, but then she had backed out. And I said, well, I'll do it. I'll put a liquor store in that business, and I'll I'll run it. And
It's where the Papa John's was going to go?
yeah.
So you guys already had just found a location. You guys going to
He
do
owned the strip mall that the gym was in. Him and his brothers.
Okay.
They owned the strip mall. So this is him trying to fill his strip mall. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great friend of mine now. He's a great guy. But really, that's what it was. He's looking for people that showed motivation, that showed drive, that could put in the hours and the hard work and would make a business work, basically. And I knew nothing about business, so that was surprising me that he thought that was me. But I did know retail and gas stations, and to me, liquor stores seemed like the same thing but flipped. And it'd be less candy, snacks, and soda, and more alcohol. So other than that, it was the same thing. So to make the long story short, he started introducing me to bankers who basically all told me no because, again, I'm broke and I have no equity and I have no money to put down.
Yeah.
Finally,
and you're young.
I'm young. I've got no track record.
Yeah.
So a whole lot of no's. Eventually, luckily, the stock market had kind of crashed there, and a gentleman had pulled all his money out of stocks, and he was looking for somewhere to put him. So he introduced me to this guy named Mark Deerking, who I met with. I presented my business plan, got to know him, and he agreed to put up $80,000. So that was a nice little influx of cash to help.
Yeah.
The problem was that was also very expensive because
it was $80,000 on basically like a promissory note.
On basically
some type of note where you had to pay it back at a certain amount of interest.
Yes.
It wasn't just $80,000 here.
No, it was 7 years, 10% interest.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was an expensive.
That's a hefty loan because see, I want to make sure that's clear to some people that are listening, because a lot of people that aren't in the business or looking to go in the business, they like to come up with excuses like, "Oh, everybody got these handouts." Well, that is no handout at all.
I had to go back and recrunch numbers and say, "Can I afford that? Can I make that payment?"
Because that's a high interest rate at a very short loan. Very short loan.
Yes.
So okay, so you got the loan.
So I got the loan, and then from there, I was able to go to the bank. Right. That's kind of like secret money, and able to say, "I've got $80,000 to put down, and here's the construction costs to get this place built out, and buy my first, $50,000 in inventory, whatever it was." That got me the loan because I had now this part of my 20% that would need to be put down. So with that meant for the first 6 months straight, I ran that store by myself, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long days.
Long days.
Yeah, 15-hour days.
So I can make $23,000 a year. So I think that's the part that people really need to latch onto with what it takes to get started. It's a lot of work with very little reward. After 6 months, I had built a big enough business that I could hire on a part-timer to relieve me 2 nights a week.
Wow.
And then the rest was...
So you were open 7 days a week.
7 days a week. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the hard part, and that was, from there, it's really grown. Quick Corner kind of fell in my lap where...
Quick Corner was the second one.
It was my second.
So this is in Gerald, Missouri now.
Yes. So that kind of fell into my lap when Mick Dorr, that owned it at the time, had to have an emergency shipment of cigarettes dropped at my store. So at this point, the liquor cabinet had been open about a year. So I say, yeah, that's fine. He can come have them dropped here and come pick them up.
Can you explain that situation to me? Why would the gas station owner that has a gas station in Gerald need to drop an order of cigarettes in New Haven?
So
because that's 30 minutes away. Because there's some people might not know where that's at. This is 30 minutes, 2 totally different towns, 30 minutes away. Why would they need to do that?
Use the same distributor.
Okay.
So with gas stations, there's a tons of distributor. At this time, it was A.E. Weiss. He used Weiss, I used Weiss, and I guess he had somebody that was coming to him that was leaving for Chicago for a couple months, and cigarettes in Illinois are really expensive. So he wanted to buy cases, a bulk order of this brand of cigarettes. So Mick had already got his delivery for that week. Mine was going to come in 2 days. So the sales reps were the same. So he said, well, how about I have them dropped here and you can just run and pick them up.
Okay.
So he did that. When he came to that, we just got talking. He was looking at my store. He's like, this is a nice store. He's like, you're doing a great job. And he goes, what else do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I'd like to get into the gas stations one day. Mm-hmm. And he goes,
did you actually?
I did say that.
No, I'm saying, did you actually, like, you already had it on your mind?
Yes.
Or was it just he showed up and you knew he owned the business and you're like, maybe I could get in?
No, and I always wanted more locations. So from this, you're just a liquor store in a small town, if you're ambitious, isn't going to build your dreams. Yeah. But it is a door, and that's how I saw it. It was a doorway to the next thing. Mm-hmm. And whether that be more liquor stores or a different business altogether. But I liked gas stations. I knew them, and I worked from the deli all the way up to assistant manager at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of said, I was like, I'd love to get in gas stations. And he goes, well, I got one I'd sell you.
Wow.
And,
easy.
Yeah, it was
Sometimes
that easy.
all you got to do is ask.
Yeah. And then, so that went like 6 months, because once he said that, I was like, fire. Like, hey, you said this, and I'm seriously interested.
Mm-hmm.
It took 6 months for him to really get back to me on it, of me just being persistent with it. And again, this was not a great business deal, but when you don't have a lot of money, you have to make some sacrifices.
When you say it wasn't a great business deal, he just wasn't cash flowing good enough?
No, the terms of the agreement were not a great business deal.
Okay.
But if you're good with numbers and you'll take the time to really look through them,
mm-hmm.
all you need to see is, can I make it work long enough to get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
So with this agreement, it was a lease to own, because I didn't have a bank backing to go buy $1 million gas station. That just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So it was a lease to own on 3 years with a 3-year balloon. By 3 years, I had to be able to go to the bank and get the remainder. And so from there, it was a $10,000 monthly payment. But every $10,000 came off the principal of the business.
Loan. Gotcha.
But if in 3 years I wasn't able to do that, basically I
washed.
lost all of it. I lost all of it.
So you were making enough off the top to be able to save and be able to come up with a down payment for the bank?
We'll get to the story.
Okay. I'll let you finish it up.
Yeah. So
I just want to make sure it's very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
So I just kind of making sure I got it.
A lot of it is just, you get to that point in the deal and you say, I think I can do that. And then you go back and you start crunching your numbers and you realize that you're still not going to be making a lot of money on your end, but you're going to have to work really hard. But, can I make it 3 years? And
Mm-hmm.
I came to the conclusion that, yes, I could. We could make that work, and I would do whatever it took to make it work. And then, about a year after I took over Gerald, so now I've been in business for 2.5 years at this point, that's when a friend of mine approached me that Northside Quick Stop in Union was for sale. From that, it was like, let me see the numbers. So it wasn't like a big thriving business, but it was profitable and it was something to add to the portfolio and maybe get me to the next step down the road.
Mm-hmm. Bring a little more cash flow in.
Yep. And I looked at it, and it was something where at this point I was at least able to, for this kind of business, to be able to go to the bank and put my part down. And
so Union, Missouri is and then 30 minutes the other way.
Yes.
So now you got one in New Haven,
Yes.
one in Gerald, Missouri, and one in Union, Missouri. So
Right.
they're all 30 minutes apart,
Yes.
45 minutes apart.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So a lot of driving. And then at this time, I'm still 1 day a week in New Haven. I work open to close 1 day a week at the liquor store.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
just
Put it in the time.
putting in the time.
Sure. Now, outside of those times, you have basically a manager that runs each place?
Yeah. So I had a manager in Gerald, manager in Northside, which came with the store. She had already been managing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that from Mark and Dana Hall, who, they just, they got a great business. Dana was pregnant. She just didn't want to deal with the stress and responsibility of it, so they just sold it.
They're ready to step away.
They were ready to step away.
Yeah. I feel like that's the best type of businesses to look for.
Yes.
But unless you actually active looking and being a part of it, because a lot of these people, I keep saying these people, but I hear a lot of people just make the excuse that, they're like, you had opportunities I didn't, or
Sure.
you always get lucky, but, the luck favors the prepared. You were actively in it. You were talking to people about stuff. You were kind of looking for opportunity. And that's the big thing. If you're never even going out and trying, you're never even going to get the opportunity.
That's what I would say. Luck is the crossroads between preparation and hard work, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you get lucky. Well, or I guess I would say the crossroads of opportunity and preparation. But yeah, opportunities, they say every individual comes across 3 opportunities of a lifetime in their entire life, but most people just aren't prepared to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
So
or not even like an opportunity is there in front of their face.
Yeah.
But they're not even looking for it, so it just passes them right by.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because and Robert Kiyosaki has a game, cash flow quadrant game.
Yeah.
And he talks about all the different opportunities in it. But if you don't know what the opportunities are, they just pass you up, and that's why a lot of people just don't do well at the game.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's what the game's there to teach you about. It's an actual board game. So.
I think an important part of this story would be when I was 18 and I started to get into sales, because getting into sales introduced me to a lot of people who were a lot better than me, but also wanted me to be better than I was. And that's really where a lot of things changed for me, because at that time I was like kind of a punk. I would say I wasn't really an emo kid, but I was a punk kid, you know. Had a tongue ring.
Wow.
You know, yeah. And I was, I started getting into sales. And I remember one of them came up to me, one of my mentors, and he said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. He's like, but 30%. 30% of people will say no to you just because you have that tongue ring in. And I immediately understood what he was saying, and I just took it out. That night I took it out and threw it away. And I got it, you know. But they introduced me to books. They told me to read books. I was not a reader. I was a very shy person by nature. I was not very outgoing. And I would say books definitely changed that. My first book that really changed my life was The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I would say that book is a must read.
What's it about?
So it is about philosophy. It is not a how-to book or things that you should do to become successful. There's no steps in there. It's strictly an explanation of why some people succeed and some people fail. And once you read that and you realize that it's their philosophy, that it goes all the way back to they start out with the wrong philosophy, which drives everything, you know. And also it talks about the success and failure curve, how, you know, you don't see it. And if you're doing the same thing every day, you don't see the results every day. It's not till 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that you see this person failed and this person became successful, but you don't see the steps they were taking every day. You know,
and that's the importance of having goals.
Yeah.
Like having big goals too, small goals and big goals. So you have something to work towards every day.
Yes.
Like if you don't have a goal, like if you're not trying to achieve something or chase after something, then those, like, every day it's just another day you're just wandering aimlessly.
Yeah.
But if you have a goal you're working towards, whether it's financially or mentally or physically, I feel like that really helps you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like you're waking up every day and you're like, okay, I need to do this. Like going to the gym, if you're trying to get in shape, you need to go to the gym and work on it. And you're not going to see yourself getting in shape every day when you look in the mirror.
Right.
But then, you take a picture on day one, and then 2 years later, if you stay consistent at it, all of a sudden, you've gone.
You look and you're like, this is different. And people will notice it too, but people don't notice it after a week. And I'm like, oh, you've been working out. You lost a lot of weight in a week. No, it doesn't work that way. Or the reverse of that, you know. If you saw somebody eat their first McDonald's cheeseburger and they instantly had a heart attack and fell down dead, you'd be like, I'll never eat a McDonald's cheeseburger. But those heart attacks happen after years of neglect, of years of McDonald's cheeseburgers. And that's the part that people don't see. That's kind of what this book is illustrating. It's daily disciplines versus daily neglects and how that affects you.
I'll definitely put that on my to-read list.
To me, that was the one that, and it's a thin book. It's
Cool.
not real thick.
My favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite.
The only thing that sucks about it is it doesn't have an audiobook yet. But I always wonder why. Because
you don't think on YouTube you can find it somewhere now?
Maybe. I don't know. But I drive a lot now, you know, so... I've switched more from reading to audiobooks. Yeah.
I love long trips by myself.
Yep.
Because I get to put on an audiobook and I just get to listen. And I don't retain as much. When I read, I retain a lot more.
Yes, you do.
Because I take it slow and I really try to make sure I'm reading what I'm reading and not just reading the words, but actually trying to, take in what they're trying to say. This How to Win Friends and Influence People book.
Yep.
You read it before, maybe?
Yep.
Heard of it?
I have an audiobook as well.
Yeah, I buy the audiobook and hardback if I can, if I really like the book. Yep. But he talks about going through, reading the chapter twice and highlighting everything.
Yeah.
And I remember flying to Florida this past year, and I remember reading it on there, and I just sat and just, would sit and highlight through the whole thing, and it just made my trip go by quick, and I love it. I love that kind of stuff.
And you have to reread it because you change. So the things you get out of the book when you're 3 years ago and you read it, you're a different person 3 years later. And if you reread it, you're going to get different things. You're going to be like, I missed that. How did I not catch that? Well, you missed it because you weren't needing it, you know? And that's what, like, right now I'm re-listening to 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I haven't read that since I was like 19 years old. But like, to me, it's like somebody completely rewrote the book and I don't recognize any of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll reread them all the time. And every time it's like, how did I not realize that the first time? How did I not grasp onto that? The Pumpkin Plan, that one's a big one for me. Same thing. I learn stuff all the time. I'm like, oh yeah. So I've never finished any of them because I'm big into when I start something and I want to just act on it.
Yeah.
You know, like this podcast here, I don't want to just sit and act, like just think about starting a podcast and who I could have on and what I could do with it. I'm going to start the podcast and I'm going to learn as I go.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like trying to improve my cameras and trying to improve my mics, learn how to talk better. I'll re-listen to my podcast and critique the way I talk. Maybe
Right.
I say too much or yeah too much or I don't know, anything. I'm always trying to critique myself and better myself, and that's how I learn personally.
Yeah.
Some people have to learn, just really learn and learn and learn, but I'll never learn unless I actually do it.
You know, the one thing I always remember is the first day I was going to go open my liquor store is day one. I woke up that morning, showered, got ready. I started walking out my house, and I go out the back door to the garage. Before the back door, there's a bathroom. I like instantly got sick, and I had to dive into the bathroom because I thought I was going to throw up, and I started dry heaving. I didn't throw up, but the nerves hit you so bad, and all I was doing was going to go unlock a door and turn the power on. You know, but it was that first day, and it was so nerve-wracking. And getting to that point, though, is the point that most people never get to.
Yeah.
They just won't overcome that nerve part, that fear of failure.
Yeah, that fear holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your first day?
Yeah.
So your first day,
It was chaotic.
was it really?
It was chaotic because
Like a ton of people coming in, or
it was busy. It's not as busy as we are now, but it was busy for me then. But also we were kind of rushing to get open, and not everything was priced in the system. So like people were grabbing bottles. I'm like, how much is this? And I was like flipping through invoices trying to find it, and then plugging in what my margin should be, and then
Yeah.
be like, that's $24.99, you know. And
Yeah.
that was so many transactions that first day.
Yeah, I bet it was. Now, were you doing it by yourself? Because I bet
Yeah.
it was very nerve wracking.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because that's the kind of stuff that is the scary part to me. Is like, or it used to be. Not anymore. I don't really worry about anything like that. But I do feel like, yeah, being not prepared enough, and then having someone standing there and you having to flip through it.
Yeah.
and just
It's humbling. It's embarrassing.
Yes, I think that's what it is to
yeah.
me. I think it's like the embarrassing part of it.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, damn it, you should have been prepared.
Right.
You should have had this figured out. And it just makes you, in my head, I'm like, this makes me look very unprofessional if I don't have it all planned out. But it all went fine after that. I mean, you got it all.
Yeah, we got everything in price book.
No like
Yeah.
horror
No,
from it.
no. Other than that, it went really great, you know. And I would say from my time as a waiter at El Ranchito, people would always tell me New Haven's very cliquey and you got to have the right last name. That's not my experience, because people in New Haven didn't know me until I became a waiter at El Ranchito, and then they all got to know me and they all got to like me. And so when I started my own business in their town, they were very supportive, you know.
Cool.
And so that was really cool.
That it is awesome to see the people in your community support you when you start a business.
Yes.
That's something that I even noticed with my gym, that I've had a lot of people in my community that I never thought would support me at all.
Right.
Really give me a ton of support. And that gives me a lot more confidence. That makes me feel a lot better. And I think people like your hard work resonates out into the community. And when they see a young man going in, starting a business, putting it all on the line, working hard, working 15-hour days, I think people do see that.
Right.
And whenever they you get repercussions, they give back and give you the respect. That's a lot. At least that was a lot for me. Respect's a big thing for me.
Yeah,
that's like one of the number one things for me. More than money or more than anything else, like the respect means a lot
Right.
to me.
I would never make $1 if I had to compromise my integrity to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's a big thing. But I think people don't see that part. They don't see you until you've gained some level of success, and then they judge you from that point. They don't see day one and everything you did to get there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I work as many 15-hour days now as I did when I started.
Sure.
But I don't need to. It's streamlined. I'm not of the philosophy that to be successful, you have to grind nonstop all day long. You just have to grind in the beginning to establish something, and then you get to change your focus. You know, but as long as you built the system right, you shouldn't have to grind every single day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big proponent on history. I've studied John D. Rockefeller a lot. And if you read a lot about John D. Rockefeller, as far as hours put in a day, he did not work that hard.
Really?
Yeah.
See, and that's something I'm hard on myself, because you listen to motivational videos. They're like, get up at 5 a.m., hit it hard, go to the gym, you know, and I don't believe, and I beat myself up on it a lot.
And you
Like,
shouldn't. Because
you shouldn't.
I personally think it's bullshit.
Yeah,
I
do
mean,
too.
it's not saying I don't work hard. I do get up at 5 a.m. every morning because I want to. Because that's like that first hour, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. is my only peace and quiet. No phone calls, no emails. That's just me and my thoughts. You know, if I want to go to the gym, run 20 minutes, whatever, I can do it then. After that, once the kids start waking up, the family starts getting up, you know, there's more noise in the air. It's you know, I enjoy the quiet time. But
It's a personal thing. Though.
yeah, but you can read CEOs. There's CEOs that sleep until 7 a.m. and they go to bed at 8 p.m. every night, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, there's a lot of days that, I'm not up at the crack of dawn, but the business I'm in, all my business I'm in, don't require me to be there at 5 a.m.
Right.
I was going in at 6 a.m. to the gym when I first opened up, and I was working all day, but only thing it was customer relations up until like basically 9 o'clock. Nobody was buying nothing. I wasn't really signing people up. People weren't coming in at 5 or 6 a.m. to sign up for the gym.
Right.
Everybody comes on their lunch break or in the afternoon. That's when they're buying supplements and wraps, and that's when actually any type of transaction is happening. So I started to realize, I'm like, well, there's no reason to have a staff here at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I just have someone show up at 9 and then be here till about 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it depends your business, right?
Yeah.
If you're an international real estate person, you probably have to get up at 3 a.m. and do deals in China and Japan, right? You have to, because otherwise you're not going to get to talk to those people. But
I have a friend that's in logistics, and you know he does a lot of stuff with the East Coast, and so he's like, it might be 6 a.m. here, but it's 5 a.m. on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got to get up because they're getting ready to hit they're ready to hit the road, and so he's like, I got to be up and working with them super early in the morning. So yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoy it. I'm glad right now. I just try to look at myself and be like, enjoy it while you can, because you might go into a business where you have to get up early.
Yeah.
So I'm like, enjoy being able to just sleep in a little bit in the morning, and I'll work till 9, 10 o'clock at night too. And so it's crazy because I can put a 12-hour day in and work really hard, but I beat myself up because I slept in that extra hour in the morning.
No, I wouldn't do that.
And I just have to, and it's just some weird mentality thing I got going on.
Well, I get it, because you do see it on, these influencers who are like, oh, you got to grind nonstop and blah, blah, blah. But if you look through history, look at people who were successful. Again, John D. Rockefeller is a great example. Built a great business. Up until just recent history, was still by inflation measures the richest person in the world.
Wow.
Until I think it was finally Jeff Bezos that finally dethroned him. And now, Elon Musk and all of them have shot past him by crazy margins. But, he would take half days off. He loved horses. He spent all day with his horse. I imagine, I always try to go back with cell phones and, how easy I am to access now. And I make sure, my managers can reach me any time of day. My phone's never off. And I feel like I need to have that level of access with them. But I'm like, in his day, they had a telegram and a letter, and everything was by horse carriage. How did they get anything done?
Right.
And for him to build an empire through telegrams and horseback rides and all that, that's where I see that noise. I'm like, that's all bullshit, because you don't have to do those things. You just have to be smart. You have to put the right things in place, and you just have to work hard.
Do you think
when it matters? Cell
phones now and the technology now that has that ease of access to be able to reach out to you, do you think that kind of makes a crutch for some of your managers to the point where, instead of, because back in the day they probably just had to figure it out. Something wrong, they probably just had to figure it out. And sure, they probably messed up one time or 2 times or 10 times maybe even, but once they had to just figure it out on their own, because they couldn't just give you a call and say, hey, what do I do in this situation?
Yep.
I feel like that gives them the crutch to be able to just reach out and never figure it out on their own.
Right.
Do you have that problem?
I would say I've had that problem. The managers I have in place now are very much problem solvers. I'm lucky in that regard. They really only contact me on a problem if it has to be me that makes the decision. Other times I'll just come into the office. I try to go to each store at least twice a week. I'll go in the office and they'll just tell me what's happened. I would say it's a crutch for the employees on the manager. The manager probably deals with it a lot more than I do now. Because a lot of them have actually said, we don't want you contacting James. Don't contact James, you contact me. And if you talk to them, their phones blow up nonstop with small problems that should easily be solvable. I remember one time, though, I did get a message from a girl, this has been 3 years ago, because the toilet was overflowing. And that's when I did have to have a hard talk with this person. I said, I do expect some level of small problem solving on your guys' level. And I'm sure you know how to use a plunger. That's literally what I said. Because it's 8 o'clock at night. You're calling me because the toilet is clogged.
Yeah. So was this a manager that did that?
No, that was an employee.
This is an employee.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that's all they need too.
Yeah.
Sometimes where they just need to be told like, hey, you got to figure it out on your own every
Yeah.
now and then. And if you let them get away with it, I feel like those are the ones that are
Yes.
going to always just keep calling back.
Yeah. So I think cell phones have created that crutch. That
Yeah.
I think in general, people are less of problem solvers on their own. But I don't like to beat up on this young generation. I know like that's kind of in like the young generation's lazy and all. I think they just see things different.
Yeah.
And they have a different way of dealing with things. And I've really always tried to listen to my employees. I deal with a lot of employees that are younger than me. I think it's because I'm young, so like older people don't want to work for me. Not exactly sure what it is, but a lot of times you just listen to them, and sometimes it's just they see things different, and sometimes we are asking them to do things that don't necessarily make sense, that it's just the way it's always been done, so we've always done that, and then they're going, well, why do we do that? Mm-hmm. And then you have to be like, I really don't know why we do that.
Yeah, it's
we
just
don't
policy.
Have to do that. Yeah, we don't have to do that. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's them that's bringing that to my attention, and you make those changes.
Do you allow them to put in a lot of input like that?
Yeah, I love their input because I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And I feel like they need to know that I don't have all the answers. I'll be decisive and I'll make the decision quickly, but I want to hear their input.
Sure. I think that's great.
Yeah.
As a boss or a leader. I really don't like the term boss. I'd rather someone say that I'm like, I mean, I guess I'm their boss, but I'd rather just be a leader to this person.
Sure.
But I have realized that like with rental properties or just with employees, sometimes if you give them too much opinion, they're always wanting to try to like challenge everything and change everything.
Sure.
And sometimes it's just like, we have to do this just because we have to do this. Like, I don't want to do it either, but it's just part of it.
There's a lot of also when they say, why don't we do this? And you can logically tell them why that won't work and they understand it. But I think telling them the why is important. So many other, I feel like leaders just want to be the boss. So they just say, no, this is the way we're doing it and we're doing it my way and you have to do it my way. But then you lose the respect. And why didn't you just explain to them why you couldn't do it the other way?
Yeah.
People are smart if you'll just explain it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're totally right there.
Yeah.
Now, how do you work with like because you have managers at each location?
Yes.
And we haven't really gotten to your Jeff City location yet.
Correct.
But how do you coordinate with all these managers? Do you have meetings with them? Or
I meet
how does it work
one-on-one
out?
more. I know as I get bigger, which is my goal to get bigger, there's going to have to be more structure put there, where it's probably more conference calls once a week or something like that. But right now I'm small enough that I can go meet with them individually one-on-one, so where we don't need to do that. I have a great accountant who does a lot of the books on the back end, balances everything, checks and measures, make sure everything's balancing the way it should be balancing, catching theft, anything like that, red flagging things. So with that system works. You just have to have people that you can trust, really.
You have one CPA that works them all.
Yes.
How do you send the numbers to him, or the managers send the numbers to him?
They use Dropbox. So the managers put everything in Dropbox. She gets on her Dropbox. She looks at everything. Then
all digital.
Yep, all digital.
Cool. I mean, that's the way it seems like it
Yeah.
just makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can do it.
And all she's doing is double checking the math of what the manager said, because the manager's sitting down. She's taking all the cashier worksheets from each of their shifts. She's plugging it into the spreadsheet. It's going to tell her overshorts, or it's going to red flag things. And then that's going to go to Sue, who does the accounting, and she's going to look at it and put her eye on it and be like, this doesn't make sense, or you need to relook at this, Cool. And she's been very effective at finding theft, to the point where we don't really have a lot of theft. We do a lot of inventories. We do inventory once a month. In Jeff City, because it's a big store, we split that, half the store 1 month, the other half the other month, and like by department. And then in Gerald, because it's smaller, we do tobacco and cigarettes every month, but then every other month we do the entire store.
Was it hard for you to get to the point to trust some of your managers?
No.
Like, was that like something you had to overcome? I really haven't had that problem either, because everyone that I've had in place that worked for me, they seem like very genuine people.
Yeah.
They seem like great people. But I see a lot of times where like people maybe have trouble trusting people that they hire. Sure. I didn't know if that was something.
I try not to be that person. I'm generally trusting in the beginning until you lose my trust.
Yeah.
And that's more the thing. Or if you're being shady. And I really
have you had people steal from you?
Yeah, I have, but not managers. It's employees.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had some big ones.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
What's the biggest one?
I had somebody steal in Jeff City. And it was, at that time, is that manager who was in place. It would be her fault for not properly checking her numbers, which just instilled in us putting a new measure on Sue to check, right? But
Was it just...
it was lottery theft. She was stealing lottery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And the manager should have caught it because...
Like scratchers?
Scratchers. If she was doing what she was supposed to be doing, she would have caught it on day one. And then it would, these people that steal, they start out very small, and then they ramp up because they want to test the waters.
Yeah.
And when she stole the first $5 ticket, she must should have said, or sorry, I shouldn't say names, but this in person should have said, hey, you were $5 short on your scratchers. Don't let that happen again. And then she'd be like, oh, she watches.
Yeah.
But nothing happened. Stole $10 the next day, $10 the next day. Then she gets to the point where she's stealing like $100 a day.
Wow.
And then we did our store inventory.
How do you just steal $100? You just pull out off the roll?
Yep. So what she was doing, and luckily now we have measures to where this can't happen because we have this very sophisticated spreadsheet they have to plug it into now. But she would write down her ending numbers, and her stuff would balance because she was a closer, and then she would take tickets out. Well, the next person would write down their starting numbers in the morning, and what the manager's supposed to do is check those numbers against each other, but she wasn't. She was just seeing this cashier balanced, this cashier balanced, this cashier balanced. And so now there's a hole in the system, and she got,
So how long did she do this for?
Well, she only did it for a month because we do inventories, every month. So she did it from one inventory to the next, and then we're like, holy crap, we're missing $8,000 in tickets.
$8,000 worth of tickets?
$8,000 in tickets.
Holy moly.
Yes. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, that'll set a guy back a little bit.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Were you able, obviously you're able to catch her.
Oh, we have cameras. We caught her.
Easily
we
caught her.
Instantly able to go in and see that it was always her shift. Where the
Were they all $5 tickets, or
No,
she was just pulling out?
She got into 20s. Oh,
Yeah, might as well go big, right? If you're stealing them.
So, we do this showy thing on something like that. We have the cops come in during her shift in front of everybody and arrest her after reviewing the cameras. And I won't forget,
You do that on purpose.
Yes.
Almost like a little bit of embarrassment
We will
thing.
catch you.
Yeah.
And so everybody sees it, which I'm not necessarily huge on, but when it's something like that, like if it's petty theft, I just fire them, just dismiss them out of hand. I'm not that worried about it. I'd rather you just be gone and cut my loss of $50 or whatever.
Yeah. The customers will see it.
Yeah.
Or the other employees will see it and they'll be like, oh.
Yeah, but something like this, I feel like you do have to make an example.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to steal. Is that a felony?
That is, anything over $500 is a felony.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god!
And I think stealing Missouri lottery is a felony, and
it just in general, if you steal a $2 one, it's stealing
I think
or a felony.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes!
So, and I could be wrong on that, but I believe anything to do with the state like that is a felony. She said, because the cop confronted her and was like, "Why did you do this?" She goes, "I needed money for Christmas." So she was just thinking, "I'll just win some money and scratch some."
Yeah, maybe I'll just win some money, and if I win big, I'll give back my $8,000 and then use the rest. Yeah. That's what they act like they're gonna say, but yeah, they're just gonna keep it and see how long they can get away with it.
Yeah,
for sure. So did you get your money back from her?
We get restitution, so once a month I get a check from her. So
that's if she has a job.
Yeah, if she's got a job. Luckily, we have been getting restitution checks, but
see, with
it's going to take a while.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's like $50 a month, I think, is what we get.
A long while. You're going to be getting basically a royalty check for the rest of her life. And is she older or younger?
She was older.
She was older? So you think she'll live long enough to even pay it off?
Yeah. She wasn't that. She was probably in her 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I've rented to some people that I've had to kick out, and they've damaged my place and owe me a bunch of rent. And some of these, they know exactly what they're doing. They've learned how to work the system, and they get into a rental house, and they're getting money from the government for whatever, and then they know that if they don't feel like paying, they don't have to pay it, and then I can take them to court, and I can have them where they owe me $5,000, but
you can't get blood from a turnip.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, and even the ones that do work where you can garnish their wages. Some of them have figured it out so much that they can go work somewhere long enough, make some money, and then when they start garnishing the wages, they just quit and go to a new place. And then it takes a while for that new company to get on board with it all, and then they just bounce job to job to job, and it's crazy.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens. You wish that everybody was decent and honest, but it's just not the way it is. And
Now,
I assume everybody has their own reasons for being dishonest, but
yeah. Now, you take her to court and everything, you wouldn't get restitution unless you took her to court, right?
yeah, we prosecute. Really, I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to testify. Really, from there, the Jeff City PD took everything and they prosecuted it.
Pretty easy case.
Yeah, it was. I mean, camera. She admitted to it in front of the cop on camera. So yeah.
Well, the reason because a lot of people on a rental property, they just kick them out. They say, get out. I'll move out, and they just try to get somebody else in and start making their money back. But I try to make sure that if this person tears my property up and they're not paying me, I try to take them to court. Not in the fact, I know it's going to cost me at least $1,000 just to take them to court, but I'm doing it in hopes that the next person doesn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's a little bit of my duty to be, because how many other people, maybe she did this to 5 other people before. And if you never take them to court and never get it on their record that these people do this kind of stuff, they're just going to keep doing it to everybody else. And so I want to make sure that, hey, I'm not the first person they do it to, but I'm certainly, hopefully, going to be the last. That's my goal, is that nobody else gets screwed over like I got screwed over in it. And so that's a lot of times what I do, because I would say having theft on your record is probably one of the worst things to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we definitely look at it as when we do a background check on an employee,
I don't know if I seen somebody had theft on their record, because that's when I'd be worried. Yeah. I usually trust everyone, but if this person's got caught stealing multiple times, it's one of those things like
writing bad checks, whatever it is, like anything where you're ripping somebody off and you just do it.
Any type of theft, yeah. So because, I mean, you could have an assault charge and be like, okay, maybe this guy's got a little anger problems.
Yeah.
Don't piss him off. Keep him happy, but he's not going to steal from me. That's a big one. And I remember somebody told me that when I was 16 years old working at a job, and this guy had been in all kinds of trouble. And he's like, one thing I'll never do is steal. And he's like, because most people don't want to hire you because of that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I was never a thief anyway.
Sure.
But it was something that always like really resonated with me. Like, oh, yeah, that is a bad one. Because that makes you look very bad.
The weirdest thing is the number one person, these are the people I've become suspicious of because they are the ones that I've had my worst experiences with, are the people that kiss your ass. An employee that is constantly sucking up to you and kissing your ass is probably stealing from you. I don't know why. Like, that's just been the way it is. That's been my experience.
Well, they try to get close to you, I guess. Mm-hmm. Try to make sure you're not upset.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what they say about cheaters, too. Mm-hmm. Or like people that do, your enemy is like the one that's getting closest to you.
Yeah.
They're trying to make sure see if you're paying attention or whatever. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I never had a high amount of employees, so I've never had to like really deal with something like that. I
have about 60 now, and I don't.
It's quite a few.
I like team building and I like interacting with people. It's gotten harder. Like when you get more employees, you can't get to know them all. Mm-hmm. And so you have to just get closer to your managers and maybe some important key leaders that have developed through the team. But some people just come and go. You can't really even take the time to get to know them.
That's what I was going to say. Is the turnover rate...
Turnover in our industry is just high. There's like a bottom 20% that's a constant revolving door.
And it's probably not even because like they're bad employees, but how many people are probably in college that just need a job for a year or two working somewhere like that? They do it. They go to school, maybe find a better paying job, or maybe get out of school, or maybe quit college, and then they're just like, I'm going to go work. Maybe some type of construction or some type of factory that maybe just pays them more. I'm sure the freaking work conditions aren't the same, but they might, because how many people work in a manufacturing plant that's
great
terrible.
Employees that I really admired, that worked really hard, and there's only so much you can do for them in my industry, which is kind of the downfall. And they get to a point where like, hey, I got this better paying job and it's got benefits, and I can never be mad at them for that. It's like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. What's best for you and your family.
What's someone that's working in a gas station? What's roughly like a pay for someone like that?
Right now, we're starting at $12 or $13 an hour, depending on experience. Our managers are making almost $20 an hour, plus they get a bonus. So it just depends. It's not.
They work 40 hours a week.
Yeah,
if they want to.
45 to. I know Jeff City. He works 50 hours a week. Generally,
the manager.
Yeah,
but like employees,
they're not salary. They're not. My managers aren't salary. They are hourly.
Yeah, but like, are the normal employees, are they getting 40 hours too?
Some of them do, and some of them are 20, 22, 32. It depends what they signed up for whenever they
Okay.
applied.
It's all
Yeah, so they'll apply
based
to
on
be
what they
part-time and give us their availability, or they'll apply to be full-time, and if we're hiring full-time, they'll get that. So.
And you said you were kind of like growing up, you were kind of punkish. And so
Yeah.
whenever you
I was a
see,
skater punk, yeah.
so like, yeah, it's funny you say that because I was too.
Yeah.
And does that, when someone comes in that looks like that,
I don't judge them at all.
you don't judge them at all?
No.
You judge them based off of like when you talk to them.
Yep.
Like who they actually are.
Yeah.
Because I remember applying for a grocery store as a kid. And I was always a good working kid. I would have never stole. I would have showed. I'm like very hard work ethic. I was working since I was like 4th grade, but I was a skater punk, and it was just something that I enjoyed. And I had the skater shoes, and I never had any piercings. I
only had the tongue piercing, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd had long hair, but it wasn't like super long.
I was getting CCS catalog constantly. Going
Yes,
through that,
I totally forgot about CCS. Yeah, holy cow! But it's just I remember getting judged.
Oh yeah.
By this guy that owned the grocery store just because I was a skater punk. He didn't want to hire me just because I was a punk. And it's like I could have stocked shelves and I would have showed up every day and I would have worked hard and I would have I would have tried harder at my position to be the best I could be because that's what I did. Like even when I was skateboarding, I enjoy like learning new tricks and working hard for it. I would get up 6 a.m. before school. Before when I was waiting for the school bus, I'd go skateboard in my driveway and just try a new trick. I was just very like passionate about whatever I did at the time. And so I know whenever I first got my first job, I always showed up. I remember my first job. I never asked a day off. I got it at 16. Didn't ask for a single day off until my 18th birthday.
Yeah. I was the person that always got called in. That would
Really?
always, anytime they called, like, yeah, I'll come work. That's all I did was work. So.
Did you ever get treated differently because you were kind of a punk?
I mean, in the beginning, I definitely did. I told you the gas station job I had when I was younger, I definitely didn't get hired right away. Like, my best friend, John Bolte, at the time, was working there, and he was the one trying to get me the job. But I could tell the manager just was not on board with hiring me because I was a punk. And I don't think it was telling she was completely desperate for help that she finally hired me.
Where is this gas station at?
That was the one in Buford. It used to be, it's now DJ66. It used to be Pinnacle Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to work there.
At 16?
16 to 18. I started in the deli, and as soon as I was 18,
Gotcha.
I went to cash register.
Because you can't
Run a cash. You can't sell cigarettes and beer until you're 18.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You can sell beer at 18?
Mm-hmm.
For
You
some
can't
reason, I thought
open it at a bar. Like, you can't be the one that pops it.
Okay. So that's the difference.
That's
like
the difference.
the
But at
one
a
that-
convenience store, 18, you can sell it. Ring it up in the register.
Yeah, and I guess at a bar you have to open it so that people won't take it
Yes.
home. You have any interest in a field like that?
A bar?
Bar, restaurant?
I've thought about it. I think sometimes I'm like, but just stay in your lane right now. Like,
Yeah.
I
think honestly, you're better off because the problem with bar and restaurant is you have that food.
Yeah.
You have that service that you're trying to provide on top of everything else. You have that service that if the service is bad, then that's like, okay, that's what screws it up. But in a gas station, you don't have really that service.
Yeah.
You just
You still have service, but it's so different. And food
it's
is
different.
so finicky, right? And the waste and everything has to be so much more controlled. And I think I could make it successful. I think I could do it, but I know I don't.
Is it worth the effort?
I don't have the infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about effort too. It's like, I used to be, I want to have 20 stores by this age, whatever it was. And now you realize I categorize stores by A, B, C, or D. A being the best, D being like, maybe it just breaks even. And an A store and a D store take just as much time and energy to run.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, I don't care about having 20 stores. I just want all A and B stores, and I don't want any C and D stores. And there's companies like Casey's that, it seems like they just put a store wherever it'll fit, and then they don't care how it runs or whatever. I don't want to be like that. I'd rather have 32 A stores than 1,500 D and C stores.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to be able to put my time where I know it's maximized. And I think I'd have such a learning curve in a bar that it would take years to really make it work.
Yeah, I agree. I think it sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like maybe when you retire, you want a bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think. Yeah. Do you know Ben Strake?
I'm not great with names.
He has Premier Business Brokerage in St. Louis.
Okay.
He came on. He was the podcast that came out this morning. Actually, he's the one that just came on for that one. And he's in a bunch of different ones too, but he's big into the hospitality one, and he owns a bunch of restaurants and stuff too. And he said that's where he started out. And he was saying that he's just, he's passionate in the business, loves it. And he's like, I think I'll work to the day I die. And he's like, I think that, he's like, I might not own all these businesses to the day I die, but he's like, when I retire and I'm living on the beach in Florida, he's like, I think I'll own a little tiki bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, I might not work it, but I might be their best customer. And I thought that was hilarious because I'm like,
you
what?
wouldn't even care if it makes money. It's like, all my retirements.
Yeah, I can totally see myself doing that too. I'm like, that sounded fun to me. I'm like, it sounds very enjoyable. So I'm like, you know what? I'll probably end up somewhere like that too.
Yep.
Owning some like little small business, probably won't make much money, but just something to keep me busy.
I'll always want something to do. If it wasn't that, it'd be day trading stocks. Like that, I did a lot of that last year. I backed off of this year because this year has been like, if you've never traded stocks, which I hadn't done a lot, so I'm not an expert on it, and I found a little niche that worked for me. Then I found that niche only works in a bull market. As soon as this bear market hit, that niche stopped working. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop losing money now.
Sure. Well, and that's probably just a whole new learning experience too. And I tried to dabble into it at one time too, but I'm like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. I like things I can put my physical hands on, and that if I wanted to grow it, I can just put in the extra work to make it grow.
Yes.
And that's why I love my gym that I have now, but I want to get into a bigger business. Because I love working to make it grow. Like I like right now I'm really big into marketing, and I just want to be able to try to reach more people and advertise more and do more digital advertising and just see come up with new ways to market and things that I'm learning I want to try out, but I can't because my gym's only so big.
Right.
I can't advertise to people like anywhere basically between one town past mine because nobody's going to come to my gym.
Yeah, I've turned over all my stores, Facebook, as far as Facebook, Instagram, and all that goes, I've turned it over to a small company called Marketing Makeover. So this girl, Sam Lowe, she owns it. She will come and she does.
I know the name.
Yeah, she comes, she takes pictures, and then she handles all the posts. She does so many posts a week, and now I don't have to remember because I was terrible at it. Like I would be like, oh, I need to get a picture of this online, and then I would never do it. It was just one of those things that fell by the wayside, and then she started her company. I was like, hey, I'm going to be one of your customers. And I think it's been great because it's consistent and now it's always out there. And
very happy
almost every day there's a picture of one of my stores. Well, Jeff City and the liquor cabinet mostly.
She go all the way Jeff City
She does.
Holy cow.
She does.
Seems like she's pretty popular. Yeah. She's from like the Washington, Missouri area, right? Yeah. Does she do Marquardt's Landing?
Yep.
She's the same girl that does that?
Yep.
I think I might reach out to her sometime for a podcast too. Because I really that industry right there, I think is going to be a big part of the future.
Yeah, she's really, really, she's young. I think she's like 24, 25. Mm-hmm. And so she's just starting out. But I mean, she's me, 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yeah. So. And I think every business is going to need that eventually. And, that's why these big businesses have marketing teams.
Yep.
And that's basically, she's starting a small business marketing company to go out and help these businesses that, they don't need a team every day to pay someone full time, but have someone that can come in, get some advertising, and be able to just produce it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, as a small business owner, and I say small business owner as in just like less than 500 employees, basically.
Yeah.
You definitely need it, but it's very time consuming. I post every single day on social media, and it's very time consuming to come up with an ad every single day.
Yeah.
I know I can't keep it up for the rest of my life.
Take the brain power away from that. I've been happy with it just because I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
You don't enjoy none of that though?
It's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just right now where I am, it's not where my time personally is best spent. It's more, inside the stores and more building systems and trying to make things efficient and then finding the next store, all that. So
how do you work on improving that every day? Like bettering your system, bettering profits. What do you do? So, how is that something that you focus on every day?
So it's very monotonous. It's very boring, but basically it's every day printing your sales from the prior day. You look at every category and you look where you can improve margin or where you're missing opportunity, you're leaving it down. Then you go to the stores or like Gerald, that store's tired. We're going to raise and rebuild it. It's time. That store, I think I could hit it with a hammer, the whole thing would fall down. The employees, God bless them, they put up with so much crap because the wiring is faulty, the air conditioning is bad. So putting a lot of time into planning that's been, this would be my second raise and rebuild because Jeff City was a raise and rebuild. But it's one where I'm taking it a lot more on my own. So it's a lot more learning curves and it's a lot harder. And then there's also meeting with different businesses to try to acquire their businesses, basically, and trying to find a good fit for what I'm looking for. So right now we have 2 that I'm in talks with.
So you're talking growth in that
for
aspect
growth.
to add on to your portfolio.
And another thing I do is I'm in a study group. So like I just got back from Tennessee. We meet 3 times a year. I just started this last year. It's been amazing, but there's a company from Texas called TextBest. There's a company from Tennessee called Easy Stop. South Carolina, North Dakota. I think there's one from Massachusetts, Louisiana, Mississippi. We all meet together and we just go over like, hey, here's problems we're having. Have you run into this? And then we all bring an idea. Like, here's our best idea. And you just learn a lot. Or like I'm especially because I'm the youngest one in the group. I get to learn a lot from these people that are 3rd generation store owners that have seen and done it all. You know, the gentleman from Mississippi, he owns over 100 stores. So like he has seen and done it all.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's great that you have people that are even willing to do that.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that this guy that owns 100 stores is even because I feel like some people start making so much money and then they're just kind of like, I don't need to do that. I've already figured it out. I'm happy where I'm at. Why would I give back or help anybody else? So the fact that you're able to find all these people that are in the same industry that are willing to come together and collab and bounce ideas off each other is huge.
Oh, and even him, like he comes with problems. Like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Have you guys dealt with this before? What'd you do with it? So
how cool.
Even him is 3rd generation. He's an older man. He's actually also a tax attorney. So hearing him speak, because these study groups, I'm going to say they're kind of pricey. I feel like hearing him speak on tax issues or just company formation issues or anything like that, when he goes, I'm like, that's worth every penny I'm paying for the whole year for the study group.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they in different locations every time?
Yeah.
How'd you find out about something like that?
Through my partner, which we're going to get into because I do have a business partner now. His other partner is in the study group and a different one. So there's, I think there's 42 different groups. And what they do is, so if you say, I want to be in a CEO group, they try to find businesses who aren't in competition with each other. So you're dealing with very confidential information that you can't share outside of these meetings. They have to be able to trust you.
You have to sign NDAs just to get.
You go over each other's finances. Like the person that runs this study group is a CPA. He used to run the largest CPA firm in Chicago. He's very good. Yeah. He goes over each company's financials and tells them where they're strong, where they're weak.
He started?
Yeah.
This guy?
He and another guy started it. So Francis Bologna, that's the individual, the CPA that runs these. He heads himself, I think he said 8 groups. And then they have different facilitators now, but him and a different gentleman started the whole thing. And they just make sure that you guys aren't in competition with each other, that you can share information and it won't like give them an edge over you or anything. So for me in Missouri, I have no other businesses in Missouri that are in my group.
Sure. Now, you don't have to send this guy information ahead of time. You just bring your numbers with you?
No, we send it to him.
You send it ahead of time. So he's able to basically break everything down and have it ready?
Yep.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
How many different groups do you think there are?
I think he said 42 at this last meeting. He said there's 42 different groups. And there's 9 companies in my group.
So does he break it down to where like have the most profitable businesses versus less profitable? What's the meetings like?
They're very, very organized. So like when we met in Tennessee, we met at the RT Lodge. This meeting was called the store tour. So there's 3 meetings a year. One will be a store tour where we tour one of the other group members' stores.
So they're in different locations every time?
Every time.
So sometime they're going to eventually be in Missouri and they'll be touring yours?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next one will be in Dallas, which is just a fly-in. So this is the fly-in number crunch. This is like we just sit there in meetings all day and we don't really have any fun. Then the third one is called Destination. That one, like, we'll be going to the Bahamas. We'll still be doing meetings. We'll still be going over financials, but there's less sitting in meetings and more getting to know each other, having drinks together.
Yeah.
That kind of
and
stuff.
Just enjoying like a little mini business vacation.
Yeah.
Sure. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's great. And you're with like-minded people, which, you can't just go to a gas station owner here and be like, hey, I want to get to know you so we can share ideas,
Yeah.
because they're your competition.
Yeah, I struggle to reach out to gym owners, like just reach out to them and talk to them about ideas I have,
Yeah.
things I want to do, try to get them on my podcast. Most of them don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like I've had, I mean, I'm just coming up with new ideas every single day. Like I would like to give this a try. I'd like to give this a try.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if I had other gym owners who were like, I've tried that, doesn't work out. Just go ahead and skip that. That'd be super nice, But I have to just learn it because nobody wants to freaking just sit down and talk to me. And I have had Andrew Burton at Homefront Fitness in Washington. He was the first gym I ever went to. And whenever I was thinking about opening my gym, I sent him a message and said, hey, man, I'm very seriously considering about buying a facility, turning it into a 24-hour gym. I have so many questions. Can I buy you dinner sometime? And he's like, yep. And so I was like, you tell me when and where. And we went there. I bought him a steak dinner. And I was incredibly nervous because I was like, is this just crazy to even do? Like to pull this guy out of his business and ask him questions? Because I never want to ask someone a question that makes them think that I'm going to be taking business from them or at competition with them. Like it's like I'm just like I don't think where my business location is compared to his. I think it's far enough away that we're not really in competition. And I was just looking for any help I could get, and he helped me a ton. And like he's easily was like, "Yep, do it, Ryan. Like sounds like if you can do it for this and this, it's a smart move. Do it." Exactly. And it's what made me pull the trigger on it. And I've had a couple other ones that also they give me some advice, but sometimes I just feel like I'm a burden on them because I don't know. I don't, and maybe it's just all mental in my head. That it's just like, maybe they actually really don't care. But sometimes, because I'll even be like, hey, I'm doing this, and it's freaking working out great. You should give it a try. And sometimes, maybe I don't think they want that.
So we have to do that in these meetings. You have to bring. We do the same. We do it. It's called the best idea. So when you come to the meeting, you have to bring your best idea, and it's something that you've tried that most people aren't trying, and everybody has to put $20 in the pot. If you, I think it's 40 now. Yeah, the last meeting is 40. If you don't bring an idea, you have to put 80. It's double if you don't bring the idea. Whoever has the best idea by vote gets the pot. But then they also have to buy everybody drinks at the bar. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of cool. But yeah, that's like a cool incentive too.
Yeah.
It's cool incentive that you have to come up with an idea.
So, for example, Joe had in Tennessee, had the best idea. And all it was is he found this camera company, this software, that as part of their security measure, they also have infrared tracing. So what he was able to do is he takes his store and you just do like a 90-day or 100-day window, say from this time to this time. It lays out the infrared of where your customers travel. It put these big hot spots throughout the store, and he goes, that's where you need to be marketing to your customers because that's where they're spending most of their time. And like you can see the path they walk to the store and where they don't walk. Yeah. And I was like, that is a great idea.
Have you tried it yet?
I haven't yet, but I just got back from Tennessee not long ago. So
you think you're going to try it out?
I think it's gonna
Is it expensive to get the software and stuff? Pretty pricey.
First, I'm going to see if my software already does it. Mm-hmm. That's step one. But then step two, overhauling a camera system is very pricey.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
But I think
it'd be a whole new camera system.
For the future, like I could easily just say when we build Gerald, this is the camera system we're going to put in.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Let's talk into that.
Okay.
Let's transition into that.
Sure.
So, what do you think we should talk about that? Or you think we should talk about Jeff City?
Jeff City? Because Jeff City ties into Gerald.
Okay.
So
when you bought Jeff City,
we go back.
How'd it go?
When we go back, I've got 3 stores.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working 1 day a week, open to close at my liquor store. One day, Tim, the guy that owned the strip mall that got me in the business, his name was Tim. He came in. He goes, "Hey, would you ever be interested in taking on a partner?" I'm like, "No." I was like, I don't think I would, Tim. Like, why? And he goes, "Well, one of my biggest customers in Illinois, he wants to come to Missouri, but he's looking for somebody he could partner with that he could trust. And I thought of you." I was like, I guess I'd meet him. I'd get to know him.
Yeah.
It sounds like a big.
That's something I've learned too is always hear out opportunity. Yeah. Even if you're like against it, always hear it out because it might be better than you think.
Yeah. They say, always keep an open mind, just not so open your brain falls out.
Yeah. 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 That's great.
But, so John Wortman is the partner from Illinois. He comes to my store in Gerald one day. He called me. He was all excited. He's, at this point, he's 55 years old. He's been in the business 30 years. He owns a small family operation in Illinois called Jack Flash. And he comes to Gerald. He meets me. He sees how busy this store is for what it is. And he said, this is an amazing location. He's like, honestly, James, if you raised and rebuilt this and you do what I do, he's like, this store would kill it. It'd just be amazing. So we spent a year getting to know each other. Me going back and forth to Illinois, seeing his stores, different things he's building, different things he's doing. He's a different type of thinker. He looks at gas stations in an entirely different way. And he's huge into marketing. That is probably his strength, is how can I market this store better, And his marketing isn't like advertisement, Facebook. It's inside the store. When a customer walks in, how are you marketing inside? Mm-hmm. What's drawing them in? So what we did is we found a store, which was really a shithole in Jeff City, that was on an amazing corner, but it was a blighted store in a prominently very nice area next to the country club. So we approached them, we made an offer, we bought it, we raised and rebuilt that, and we built the store that's there now. And it's been
raised and rebuilt as in
completely
demolished.
Took it to the ground, ripped up all the concrete, ripped out all the tanks. Everything is brand new.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was our first project together, was Jeff City. So from that, obviously, there had to be some equitable contribution. So he came in.
Can we talk about one more thing while we're here? Because I know a guy that owns a restaurant in Owensville, Missouri. Mm-hmm. He was looking at moving his business to an old gas station.
Okay.
But he was, because of the tanks in the ground, he had to get the soil tested.
Sure.
When you bought that business, there were active tanks in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Did you have to have the soil tested?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Aren't they always leaking?
Yeah. There's always contamination to some degree.
How do you buy it and not like have to just tear it all up as soon as you buy it? How can you change hands like that? And then also, how can you tear up all the old tanks? Like, was that a major thing? Like, is that a fear?
No.
No, it doesn't fear you at all.
So there's a state insurance fund called PISTIF. So basically, the state has this huge fund that we pay into, every gas station owner does, that insures the underground storage tank. So if there's a leak, if there's ground contamination of any kind, we pay a $10,000 deductible, but they cover the cost of all the cleanup.
Oh, cool.
So as long as the store you're buying was already in the insurance fund and they've already been doing all the regular testing throughout their course of ownership, when you come to DNR and you're switching hands, you have to go through the process of getting reinsured through PISTIF before you change hands. But as long as the insurance is in place, that's fine. So then when we have the insurance in place, now we're doing the raise and rebuild. Because we didn't raise and rebuild right away. We ran it as was for about a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So once you do that, that's when you get DNR involved. You say, we're going to be closing these tanks down. We're going to be ripping them down. That's when all the testing happens. Then they test the soil.
Don't you have to do it when you buy the place?
Mm-mm.
No.
I did not have to. But the difference for me versus this owner, or the restaurateur you're talking about, there'd been no PISTIF in this location for quite some time. Right?
Gotcha. So they already having regular testing. So they already knew, like, we tested it, we know what's going on with it.
Yes.
Gotcha. That makes total sense.
So it is different in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes sense.
When you're buying something that's been defunct for a while, then there's more concern.
Yeah, because they don't know what's going on with the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense.
And there's no insurance there, so that's a very hefty cleanup fee.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to insure it once there's been leaks in the ground and stuff like that.
So when you're going to rebuild it, you automatically get to use this insurance. Basically, you just know when you're going to tear it down, you got a $10,000 fee to tear them tanks up, clean the soil out, bring in new stuff.
If there was remediation, the state would pay for it. Usually there's not. So in our instance, yes, there's contamination, and we had to do remediation, but it was so minor. It was just like right outside the tank field. We just had to clean all that up.
Oh.
Then they come 3 times over the next 4 years, I think, and they drill core samples in your concrete, and they just make sure that the remediation...
Which is just like a big drill bit?
They take the core sample, and then they go, yep, this soil's clean, throughout the property to make sure that it didn't spread. And once they can say it didn't spread, then there's no... close the case.
Do you know John Breer bought the Rosebud gas station?
Yeah.
Do you know what happened to him when he bought his?
I heard.
Yeah, because I had him on my podcast.
Yeah.
And he had this massive hole in his parking lot, And I was like, what the hell's going on with that? Like, why is it like that? And he's like, well, and they were doing that. What's it called?
Remediation.
And, they were drilling down into it and they hit the pipe and they hit the gas line.
That's crazy.
And it just went everywhere. I know. That's what I was saying. And so, yeah, just bad luck, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it comes down to, bad luck.
Yeah.
On John's part.
That would be very unlucky. Now, I would assume he has piss stiff. Now, I'd assume in that situation, they'd be like, no, this is on that third-party company, and they're going to pay for everything.
Certainly was.
Yeah.
He said it all was covered under them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure the guy got fired, and
sure.
there's a whole. I'm sure there's a whole ordeal to the side of that. But yeah, that's interesting that they do that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Certainly makes sense.
So I mean, that's really all it was there's a process you go through, and luckily, I mean, we dealt with a company that does it all the time. So he was able to just walk us through the process. His job is to go in there and remove the tanks and do the cleanup and all that. So he just said, here's what's going to do. Here's step 1. Here's step 2. It's not like you're really just on your own,
So what's this guy's name? Just first name.
Paul Sheets.
Paul Sheets. So this is your partner.
No. Paul Sheets is the environmental cleanup guy that came. He owned the company when we did that. John Fortner is my partner.
Okay, but John was doing the rebuilds.
Yes, he knew all that.
Okay, so that helped you out a ton.
That did. Yes.
Did he bring money to the table too?
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
portion of it.
So,
is that why you partnered with them? Or what was the big reason for the partnership?
Well, because I could do more faster. Not necessarily more faster. I could do better. Mm-hmm. I could keep buying stores, kind of nickel and diming my way through it, or I could learn from a mentor. Which to me, if you are going to get in business, the best thing you need is a mentor. Mm-hmm. And I would say I had mentors, but the thing you learn about mentors is they can only get you as far as they are. So let's say, I came from a poor family. I was raised by a single mom. She's never made more than $30,000 a year in her life. So when I got into business, making $100,000 a year was insane to me.
Yeah.
So I would say my first mentor could really only get me to that level because that's where he was. They can't really take you past that because if they could get past that, they'd be past that. Mm-hmm. So that's when you need another mentor to get you to the next level you want to be at, So to me, it was the mentorship. I could learn a lot. I could get big things done faster, and I could be part of something. Because when I went and toured his store, that's really where it hit me. I was like, I could be a part of this because it's so different. When you go into these stores, if you go to Jeff City, you walk in there, it doesn't feel like any gas station you've ever been in. You don't walk in and be like, oh, it's just another gas station. You're like, wow, this is
nice
different.
in here.
It's nice in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll definitely next time I go to Just See, I'm going to make it a point just to go in there, just to see it. So the split between, because I want to see the benefit on both sides. So on your side, he brought that to the table, the rebuild process to the table. Plus, he brought some money to the table, help you grow. Plus, the mentorship that you really needed. Financially, is it a 50-50 partnership?
50-50.
You guys split everything down the middle.
50-50.
So on John's side, how's it beneficial to John?
Sweat equity and where I work to where he can now, because he kind of got started the same way. Somebody took him when he was very young, about the same age, and it was the same lease to own deal nearly, and partnered with him where he did all the work, and this other business who had been in business longer got to sit back and reap the rewards. So he's benefiting off my work, and I'm using systems that he's put in place, but he's not coming down to the stores and physically working.
And funding that he put into.
Right.
So he put in some money too.
So the funding was instantly 50-50 because what it was is I put in Gerald into the partnership as my equity. He matched the equity value of Gerald with cash. So instantly 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, if something fell through, he would just get part of Gerald?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
what a deal.
Yeah.
That's an awesome deal.
And I will say this too. I was skeptical.
Makes sense on his end.
I was skeptical. When they sent me the operator agreement, obviously I had my attorney look at it. Mm-hmm. And so my attorney looked at it, and when I had a meeting with him, he said, he's like, honestly, he's like, it's the most fair operating agreement I've ever said. He's like, he technically has more power than you, but he still can't do anything without your signature. And you can't do anything without his signature.
Cool.
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. And it does make sense for growth on both ends. Now, how old is John?
He's 60 now.
60. So when you guys started working together, how old was he?
He was 53 or something like that, I think.
You guys got a good relationship?
Yeah.
Great relationship.
I mean, I just called him yesterday. He's like, you and your family need to come down for another weekend, and he's got property at the lake. He lets us use whenever he wants, or if they're down in town, we go down to the Lake of the Ozarks with them.
And this is all from the guy from
the very beginning.
The gym owner.
Yeah.
Is the guy that plugged you guys together.
Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Almost sounds a little bit like, part of it is being prepared and taking opportunity and actually going out and trying. Because if you never took the chance on the Papa John's idea in the very beginning, you would have never bought the liquor store. If you never had the liquor store, you would have never had the opportunity to get the gas station Gerald. You never had the gas station Gerald. The guy from the gym would have never recommended you to his partner. The partner would have never gave you this opportunity for the place in Jess City.
Yeah.
And so it's all about just being in the field and being active, but also looking for opportunity. And maybe a little bit of it is destiny or fate or God's plan or whatever you want to call it.
There's always luck. But again, luck is preparation and opportunity.
Yeah.
You got to be prepared to be
absolutely. Okay, I see how you say that ties into Gerald now.
Yes.
So now, how long the place in Jess City been established? Like after the rebuild,
we rebuilt it in 2018 was when we opened. Mm-hmm. So it's been doing great ever since.
Because for whatever reason, me and you've been friends on Facebook for a long time.
Yeah.
It was more.
I went to school in Owensville, so I don't know if it was that. Or...
I have no clue. What it was. But I remember when you were sharing like the prints for the rebuild in Jess City, and I was like, whoa, this guy's really starting to expand. He's really trying to make some stuff happen here.
Yeah.
And then so now you never shared nothing like that for Gerald yet, but it's in the works.
It is in the works. It's very close. We literally just finished exterior. Well, I think we're still tweaking exterior elevations, which be the materials and the design of the outside. We're tweaking that. Interior elevation's completely done. Ready to go to architect on that. So that's kind of next step.
Knock down the building?
Knock down it entirely.
Pull the old tanks out.
Yep.
There's a car wash behind it.
So car wash, store, and then there was what used to be Happily Ever After.
Yep, there's a building next to it.
I bought that building.
Demolishing all three?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Needs it.
Yes.
It's needed it for a long time.
Cleaned up. It'll be a great investment for Gerald, which to me is like the main thing. Like
Yeah.
I grew up in Gerald, went to school in Owensville.
You did grow up in Gerald?
Yes.
Gerald's your hometown.
Yeah.
That's interesting because how old are you?
I'm 34.
34. Yeah. So we're really not that far apart.
I graduated in 06.
Yeah, so a little bit older than me, but I'm 30 now, so it's only 4 years apart. But it's crazy that just that 4 years difference, and like just being a skater kid, and I think it was just that generation too.
Yeah,
I think there was just really popular somewhere in the mid 2000s. That was like a really popular thing, and I think in Gerald it just became a really prevalent thing because there wasn't nothing else to do in Gerald. Very small town, and people just rode bikes around town and skateboarded and just did whatever. I'm assuming that's probably.
I was in a band with Doug Crocker. I'm sure
really, you're in a band too.
I was in a band with Doug Crocker. Yeah.
Holy cow!
I was the drummer. He was the guitarist. My brother was guitarist. There was Cody Sullinger was in it.
Well, that's right because at that time, whenever that was, were you in high school at that time when you were doing it?
Yeah.
There was actually people were big into having rock concerts and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it was like at just like random like VFW halls and KC halls and just random buildings. People would have like these like pop-up concerts. And they'd have like these hardcore rock concerts there.
It was a great time.
It was huge.
They don't do that anymore, I don't think.
I don't. You never see it. There's Barely Covered, who I had on my band. They play a lot of places like local bars and restaurants and stuff like that. But you just don't see a lot of people playing music like that anymore.
That's true.
And it is cool. Everybody loves to go and watch a live band.
I think I asked somebody, do they still have fights at Lower Park every day? They're like, what? No.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, when I was going out of school, there was a fight at Lower Park every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just crazy. Different stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I remember passing there one time, and I'm like, I remember people just getting in fights. That's how you would handle a situation back in the day.
Yep.
Like if you had a problem with somebody else,
they got in a fight.
Yeah, it wasn't going to social media and bashing each other.
It was meet me at Lower Park.
Yeah, it was. That's how people handled the problems.
Yep.
And what's funny is, and we're getting sidetracked from the Gerald gas station thing, and we're doing all right on time, and I don't want to stretch it out for too long. I don't want to hold you up all day, and I also don't want to have a 2-hour podcast I got to record. So I got to be conservative with it all, but I remember when I started my gym, I didn't know what policies I needed to have in place. Like I didn't realize like what needed to be set in stone. And I would stay open late because I would just work really late all the time. So basically the gym was only open till 7, and then it closed down when I first bought it because I didn't have the 24-hour system and the cards and everything in place. But if I was going to work all night, because there was a time when I first bought it, every other day I was working 24-hour shift. One day I would sleep in, catch up on rest, and then the next day I would just grind until I just couldn't, until I was just, just beat completely down. But if I knew I was going to be staying late and working, might as well just leave the gym open. You guys can come in and work out as late as you want. And there was a kid in there that he wanted to take his shirt off. And he did ask me, he's like, is this a big deal? And I'm like, it's just me and you in here. I don't care, man. Like, take your shirt off if that's what you want to do. Don't bother me. Well, I guess he was younger, and then he did it another time when another customer was in there. And that guy, the kid was younger than me, but the other guy grew up, he was probably your age, probably about 34, and definitely grew up in different times. And yeah, it ended up, they would like kept arguing about it. And they got to the point where like they kept coming to me like a babysitter, and they're what do we do to handle this? And I'm like, why don't you guys just go out into the street, fight it out, whoever wins, that's the new rule. Like and like the guy that doesn't want you to have your shirt off, he wins, that's the rule. And but after that, that clearly they didn't, and they found a way to work it out. But I put up a sign just like, can't have your shirt off. Yeah, it makes people feel uncomfortable. I kind of thought it was common sense, like. I would never do that if someone else was around. I would never do it, period. Sure. But I certainly wouldn't do it if someone else is around. I guess it's just a different confidence thing other people have. But it was just funny because that's kind of how I am, too. Yeah. That's like, if I did something wrong to someone, I expected them to retaliate by wanting to fight me. It wasn't like, I don't know. I just wasn't like I went and told someone. It was like, all right, we're going to handle this right here. And I've been choked out plenty of times to know when I should and shouldn't do something. Like that's just how I grew up learning. So
yeah. All right, so back to Gerald.
Yes, back to Gerald.
So the plan, as it would be, so I own the 3 buildings. So the car wash would be demolished first, and what used to be Happily Ever After. Mm-hmm. Grading. The new store will be built directly behind the existing store. So that construction will be able to be completed 100% inside the store. Then we would have to shut down a little bit to demolish the old store, get some grading, concrete. Then we could open the C store, as were, before we move on to the tanks and dispensers.
Okay.
So the store right now that everybody's familiar with is about 1,500 square feet. That's the entire building. The new store,
with the kitchen and everything?
That's the entire building, 1,500 square feet.
It seems a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, no. It's
you guys definitely utilize it very well.
Yes. That's 10 pounds of shit in a 15-pound box.
Yeah. Yep.
The new store is just over 7,000 square feet as we have it.
How many?
7,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's going to be massive then.
Yes.
How many of actual floor space?
Most of it. I don't have that exact number, but we maximize floor space. So it's going to be a very big sales floor.
That's awesome.
But, if you go to Jeff City, you'll see, because Jeff City is actually 6,500 square feet. One of the things that's different in this is to utilize space. We put in a mezzanine for all the dry storage, like cups, lids, all that. We've decided to scrap that, so we're taking the mezzanine and putting it on the floor. So that's why essentially they're the same store, but we just added more floors or more storage space to the floor.
Is it very similar to the store you got in Jeff City?
Mm-hmm.
You're just copy and pasting it, basically.
A lot of tweaks, a lot of changes, but very similar.
Corrections.
Things we could do different, or just things that are changing in the industry that we want to bring in. So,
sure. Is there anything that the Gerald store is going to be losing or gaining? Probably gaining a lot.
Gaining a lot.
But not losing nothing?
Not losing anything.
Pizza Hut's still going to be in there?
Yep.
Because a lot of people, I'm sure, love that.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's I just remember
keeping all the food service.
Everybody loves all the food there.
We're going to kind of streamline it better. We're going to try to go a direction where all the fried food is going to be grab and go. So it's going to be the same fried food, but instead of having to wait in line to go through the, waiting for the cashier to get the food out of the hot case for you, we're going to have it to where it's all prepackaged, like in the orders they belong, on a hot case, on a hot hold, and you just grab it, and then it'll scan at the register. We are going to be bringing in self-checkout, but still have the same number of registers that we have now. bringing in one additional cashier to help with the self-checkout, just to help facilitate people through faster. So if you don't want to deal with lottery and waiting with people in lottery, you can go to the self-checkout. This cashier will help you, and there'll be 3 of them.
Can you pay your gas through that?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
You don't really see that a lot in gas stations.
No.
But I was thinking that when you were saying stuff like that, I'm like, I wonder if a gas station's ever going to go to self-checkout.
Yeah. And then my partner's done it in Illinois, so they've got some experience with it. I wouldn't say they've mastered it. We're trying to make it feel like a self-checkout area. You know, I think that's where it's been missing. Grocery stores, it's a corral, and it feels like